sound horn for lock?
I just did it.
Oh. I didn't hear.
Well, hello. Here we are in Tewkesbury. We're going to have a look around Tewkesbury and then in a couple of days set off up the Avon towards Stratford. We had a good cruise up from Sharpness, a bit rainy at times, fighting the current up from the docks at Gloucester, and we've just turned right off the river up the lock, and we're moored in the visitor moorings at Tewkesbury. So let's have a look around. The first thing we see as we get off the boat is this massive disused flour mill. We're talking to a lady who came here in the late 1990s and actually worked for the company that ran this mill. Barges used to come up the Severn laden with wheat that used to be unloaded and milled into flour here. All went bust at the turn of the century, and now it's just this big disused building, ripe for development, I guess. Here's the Avon lock, which we've just come up from the Severn onto the Avon. A rare example of a lock that's still a toll station. The River Avon is a separate navigation from your CRT licence, so you have to buy a licence to cruise. 65 quid for 2 weeks it's cost us, so it better be good. Well, after walking down a fairly nondescript high street full of the usual charity shops, etc., I think we've now come to the more historic part of Tewkesbury, with these old medieval buildings and the abbey just behind looming over us. Let's keep on down here. And here, by those rather picturesque houses, is the limit of navigation of the River Avon. You can't come up here because we can't turn round. That's as far as you can go. So let's walk past the Abbey Mill. The mill has stood on this site for over 1,000 years. It's used to supply flour, mill flour, for the monks at the Abbey. Onto Severn Ham, which is a floodplain, with a walk around it. So the Severn Ham is basically a floodplain, bordered by the Severn, the Avon and the Swillgate rivers, and it's the silt that's deposited on this site every year when the rivers flood that makes it an extremely fertile area, supporting a wide variety of wildlife and plants. So it's a site of special scientific interest, of course, and part of the local conservation area. And I think we'll take a walk round it and have one last look at our old friend the Severn. And here we are, back at the River Severn. One last look before pastures new up the much smaller River Avon. Well, there are many historic pubs in Tewkesbury, including the Wetherspoons, whose claim to fame is that it's the pub that Dickens made Mr. Pickwick call at in the Pickwick papers. We'll choose this one, Gloucester's oldest inn, which is a bit strange given that we're in Tewkesbury. But anyway, let's see what it's like.
It is. Uli. Black beer bitter.
Black bear bitter. Oh. Well, good morning. We're still in Tewkesbury, having a little look round the place. I've said before, these videos aren't really documentaries, but we are going to have a little look at the Abbey and also the John Moore Museum, hopefully, and maybe even the Museum of Tewkesbury if we can face 3 museums in one day. It is predicted to rain quite a lot today, so indoor activities are probably best. I'll take a few shots, but otherwise we'll enjoy our day in Tewkesbury, and we'll see you tomorrow. And as the rain starts, let's go inside this magnificent church. All that's left of Tewkesbury Abbey, the rest of which was of course destroyed at the time of the dissolution of the monasteries. The church was saved by the townsfolk who bought it for the cost of the lead on its roof, and it still stands to this day. Well, we had a lovely time in Tewkesbury looking around. After that visit to the Abbey, we actually stayed for a sung Eucharist. It was absolutely beautiful. Neither of us are that religious, but it really was a wonderful experience. And then after a spot of lunch, we went to the John Moore Museum. John Moore is a famous author who wrote about Tewkesbury and the surroundings. I didn't know this. He was also a conservationist and a naturalist, so that was fascinating. And then of course we had to finish with a pint of Wadwood 6X, which was excellent. So I think we've had a lovely time in Tewkesbury. When we next see you, we'll be leaving Tewkesbury and heading up the Avon for our next adventure. So we'll see you then. Bye for now. Well, good morning. Here we are, setting off from Tewkesbury on our voyage down the River Avon. Tewkesbury, enjoyed having a look around there. Now it's off to new moorings and new adventures and places that I've never been to before, and we've never been down this river before, so all new. Let's see what happens. Completed our first Avon lock, pretty much a river lock like they have on the Soar. They have their own rules, which we didn't quite follow. Maybe we will next time. And what is handy is you are required to leave the exit gates open, so no more having to jump off the boat and close the gates. That will wait for the Stratford Canal. If we get on the Stratford Canal, it's closed at the moment, but anyway, that's another story. Here folly on it to try and get it there, but sadly they didn't build it tall enough, so it's still a hill. This bridge had a bit of damage when a car drove off it into the river, so we have to be a bit careful. Reduce speed and go carefully is what it says.
Just coming up to Nafford Lock.
Yeah, it's when you come up we won't be able to get under it, will we?
No.
Before entering the lock, it says.
Oh, okay.
Okay, managed to survive Nafford Lock with its swing bridge in the middle of the lock. Very twisty exit. Now we're cruising around Breeden Hill, looking for somewhere to moor. Nice peaceful mooring at Comberton Quay. Good situation for a little walk. But first, lunch. Right, let's see if we can find Breeden Hill and walk up it. First thing we've got to do is find our way off this visitor mooring. Starting off walking through the village of Great Comberton, which is where we're moored. No shop, no pub, but a pretty little village nevertheless. And the ascent of Breeden Hill begins gently at first, but we've got to get all the way to the top. So a Great Comberton church in the foreground. I hope you can just make out that church spire with a green top. That will be Pershore, hopefully our next port of call. Final assault up this steep slope, hopefully to the ridge at the top of Breeden Hill, where it will level out a bit. Blooming heck. Well done, Judith.
That was fun. Fun.
What a view though. Views over to Wales. I don't think you'll be able to see it, but in the distance over there we can just make out the two towers of the suspension bridge going into Wales. And here we are at the trig point, looking at that folly that I mentioned earlier, built to try and make this hill tall enough to be called a mountain. Didn't quite build it tall enough, but it's a useful mobile phone mast. And I can't really share this with you because it just won't come out on the camera, but we have a panoramic 360-degree view of a sizable part of England and Wales from this hill. It's absolutely stunning up here. All I can say is that if you ever visit this area, make the effort to walk up Breeden Hill. Descending now on the Avon Way down towards Nafford Lock, where we're going to pick up Shakespeare's Avon Way. And that's where we were. There's the folly right at the top of Breeden Hill. And here is St Michael's Church at Great Comberton, which pretty much marks the end of this stunning walk. What a fantastic 6 miles or so up into the hills overlooking the Avon and Severn. valleys. Notice there was no pub on that walk, but here we are back at our own little riverside bar and bistro. So I think we'll enjoy it here. What a lovely peaceful spot as the sun sets over the River Avon. Hope you've enjoyed coming along with this first cruise down the river and our first experience of this river and its surrounding countryside. If you have, please like, comment and subscribe so you can come along on the next one. Until then, bye for now.